very interesting. It was interesting to be in two places at the same time. Giving share and at a meeting. We're holding on Good Amid Beis, and we're going to begin a little different sugya. We're leaving. Until now, we were discussing kairis and lechis, and now we're going to go to the concept of Suras HaPesach. So we saw that when you have a mavoi that is too high, you lower it. Too wide, you diminish it. Now we had a machlokes how the kaira and or the lechi works. Does it work mishum heka, or does it work mishum mechitza? Like mishum heka would mean that you recognize it, that you're in a rishus, and to make a distinction between that rishus, and rishus harabim, make a distinction between that rishus and rishus harabim. You have a heka. And even if you're going to hold the tam is mechitza, we saw there was opinions that it was a mechitza. That mechitza, in fact, was also, it was a virtual mechitza. It wasn't a real mechitza. We'll view it as if there is a fourth world. Suras HaPesach, in fact, is a fourth wall. Think about it. What is a Pesach? It has two lintels, two side posts, and a lintel going across the top. That's what Suras HaPesach is, two sides. So it is it's much more physically a wall than a virtual wall. So even the time that if you hold a lachi or a kaira works al mechitza, it's still a different mechitza than Suras HaPesach. Therefore, we said that Suras HaPesach can matter even a pirza over 10. It can matter it. That if you give a pirza that's 10, not even a Pesach, and you put it Suras HaPesach, it gives it a shem Pesach. We had two shittas. We said that if it's 10 amis, even more you can put. Says Reb, we had the shita of Rav. Rav learned out from the Heichel. The Heichel is only 10 amis wide, and it had a Suras HaPesach. So according to Rav, the Suras HaPesach can only be up to 10. So tonight is the night we're learning the halachas of Suras HaPesach. It is the most prevalent means of an Eruv. Right? But you see, when you think of an Eruv, you think of two poles with a wire going across the top. That is a Suras HaPesach. That is a Suras HaPesach. It's the most common mechitza that we make in order to go ahead and make an Eruv around an area. So let's begin. We're on Yomi Beis. And Yesh Suras HaPesach Alpha Pisha Rochav Meyeser. If it has a Suras HaPesach, even if it's wider than 10, if it has a Suras HaPesach, even if it's wider than 10, then we said Ein Tzarich L'mayit. You don't have to be mayit it. If the alleyway, the mavi was more than 10, we said you have to put a pas. We said you put a pas in some type of board in to go ahead and make it and diminish the amount. We said the halacha using of oimed movement paris, as we said yesterday. But if it's wider than 10, guess what? You put it Suras HaPesach there and you're home free. Okay? So you see it works better than a lechi and more clear. Ashken Suras HaPesach the mehanya b'rach boy. We find that Suras HaPesach helps us diminish a width, right? The amaltera, the mahanya begavoy. Okay, I'll bring you back to the old amaltera guys. We had Daf Gimel, we had an amaltera. Amaltera was either the wooden beams that were on top of the heichel and the ulam, or it was pictures of nests that were on top of there. And we said that if it's higher than 20, it'll go ahead and bring it down because you're going to go ahead and look up because it's such a fabulous thing to look at. It'll be makkah that you'll be right to. Whole Indian of Hekar would be also maltra. So two unique dinim. The din of Suras HaPesach being memayit, and we know that a maltra can be diminished the height. Question: can a Suras HaPesach diminish the height? Can a maltra diminish width? Good. Says the Gemara. Ibchamai. What's the halacha? The opposite. It says in Toshma, the Tanya, Mavi shu gavoya me eser mama. A mavi that's higher than 20 amis. A mavi that's higher than 20 amis. You go ahead and mayit it. And if you have a Suras HaPesach, Eina Tzarech L'mayit. He says it openly. So not only can a Suras HaPesach diminish a width, it also can go ahead and diminish a height. So it works both ways. Amaltera berach by mai. What about an amaltera? When the amaltera was able to diminish a height, what about a width? Tashma, the Tanya, Mavi shohei gevoya me'asr amma. A mavi that was higher than 20 amis, you mayit. Okay, it's clear that's a lacha. 20 over 10 If v'im yesh l'tzorech Pesach, ain't tzorech l'mayit. You don't even have to be mayit. Right? V'im yesh le'amaltera, ain't tzorech l'mayit. Now, the distance of a maltera is going on both the height. Mashma's going both on both height and width. So we can be paisha shaila that a maltera can in fact go ahead and diminish the width. So my lava sefer going on the sefer of width. Laya ratio it's only going on the height. But in Achinami, we weren't paisha the shaila about or the maltera going ahead and capable of being diminishing the width. Masila of Yehuda l'chia barav kamei derav, ain't it tzarech l'mayit. If you have it Tzuras at Pesach, the girsa that he had, then you don't have to be mayit 10. Meaning, if the Pesach is larger than 10, we say larger than 10 amis is a pirza. If in fact you do have a Tzuras at Pesach, that will go ahead and you will not have to diminish it. You can leave it as is, and the Tzuras at Pesach will matter it. That's the girsa that we had. However, says so Amalei. So Rav told Reb Yehuda, who was teaching Chia, Rav's son, Asnaya, teach him, read it, Sarech L'mayit. In fact, you have to go ahead and diminish. This we had earlier, guys. Going back to the first sugya we did a scant less than 2 weeks ago. It's funny. You think of an Eruvin, you've been in 11 days. You feel like you've been here for a month, right? Yeah, it's 10 days. It's not. It's just a vacation, you know. And you think you've been here for Shabbos is a long way off, right? Anyway, so it says like this. We said we had two shittas. Where do you know either 40 by 20 according to Rabbi Yehuda, 20 by 10 according to Rav? You learn from the Heichel. The Heichel had what? Had it Tzuras HaPesach. Says Rav, you see, even if it's Tzuras HaPesach, it has to be similar to the Heichel, which is only 10. So if you have 10, you have to be mayat. You have to diminish it. Because again, the Tzuras HaPesach cannot be more than the Heichel. By the Heichel, there was a Tzuras HaPesach. It was only 10 amis wide. Then if you have a mavoi larger than 10 amis or anything larger than 10 amis, and you're using a Tzuras HaPesach, you will have to go ahead and diminish it up till 10. That's the shita of Rav. That's the shita of Rav. Amar Rav Yosef, Midivri Rabbeinu Nilmad, from the words of Rav we'll learn that again, if you have to diminish Tzuras HaPesach has to diminish a pirza of more than 10. Nilmad Chotza Sheruba Psachim B'Chalonos, a chotza that has a majority of openings and windows. Einani Teres B'Tzuras HaPesach, meaning, in order for something to be mutter al yedei a Tzuras HaPesach, you have to have more omed meruba meparitz. You have to have more standing material than open area, like we had yesterday. Correct? In other words, you have we have a good picture over here. What?
Picture 139.
Okay, I'll give you this picture. Let me give you this picture. It's a good picture.
Page 23, 139.
So here you have this picture over here. You take a look at this. We're going to get back to this. Here's a house. There's a chutzner. And now if you look around, all these have Tzuras HaPesach. This is all guys have a Tzuras HaPesach. You see? It has a top and sides. Everything's a Tzuras HaPesach over here. And if you add up the area of solid, it's more than the area of air. That's called Oimed Meruba Meparetz. Says Rav Chiddush, the only time a Tzuras HaPesach would work is if you have more Oimed, more solid than Paretz, than open air. If, however, you have Tzuras HaPesach, but there's more Paretz Meruba Me'omed, there's more open air, in that case, it's not going to work. In that case, it's not going to work, okay? That's what he's saying. In that case, it's not going to work. Says, let's see it inside. Amar Rav Yosef, Medivur Rabbeinu Nilmad, Chatza Sheruba Pesachim V'Chalonos, a Chatza that has a majority of openings and windows, Einuni Teres B'Tzuras HaPesach. It won't become mutter with the Tzuras HaPesach. My timer, Hayol V'Yos. Okay, now listen, this is a very interesting limud. Okay, we're going to learn out Chatza from Mavui. Now, Mavi has a problem. Mavi has a problem. What's Mavi's problem? Anything more than 10. Anything more than 10. Guys, Mavi is a problem, anything more than 10. Chutz is a problem, anything that you have more open air than closed air. What happens by Mavoi if you have more than 10? it doesn't. The Tzuras Pesach doesn't work. So just like by Mavoi, the problem with the Mavoi is not corrected. Guys, listen to me. Just like Mavoi is not corrected with the Tzuras Pesach, so too the problem by Chotzer is not corrected with Tzuras Pesach. What is the problem by Mavoi if it's more than 10? What did Rav say? You have to be Mamayit, correct? Rav said, similar to the Heichal, despite the fact you have a Tzuras Pesach, you have to be Mamayit, right? So in order to correct the Mavoi, the Tzuras Pesach is not going to help with the problem of the Mavoi. Now, what's the problem with the Chotzer? You have more open air than closed air. So too over there, it won't help. That's his limud. Let's see it inside. Says the Gemara. My timer, since more than 10 makes it asa mavoi, that's the mavi's problem. Uparitz meruba alo oimed, oisa b'chatzer, and have a more open area and closed area asas by a chatzer. My yoisem yesa oisa b'mavoi. Ain't anita b'tzuras pesach. We said, because according to Rav, you have to be mayit. Af paritz meruba alo oimed, oisa b'chatzer. So to the problem of chatzer, which would be paritz meruba alo oimed, ain't anita b'tzuras pesach. It doesn't come with the B'tzuras Pesach. Guys, you got it? It's problem here, problem there. Just like problem over there, B'tzuras Pesach doesn't help. So to problem over here, B'tzuras Pesach doesn't help. Okay. Says the Gemara. Then second, not so fast, Ladowski. Not so fast. Why? Mali Yosem me Eser Oisem Mavoi. You know by Yesa Oisem Mavoi why it doesn't help? Shekein lo hitarta by Eitzel Pasi Birois. Because it doesn't help by passing revoice, the Reb Meir. Toima beparts meruba alo oimed ha'oisa b'chatzer shekeni tarta etzel passing berois the divyakol. Okay, let's go outside. We had yesterday the concept of passing berois. We saw a picture. The picture of I'll bring it up and explain to you. We'll go back. So let's fix the picture.
121.
Okay. We mentioned the problem yesterday that oil regel they would come up and they would have to water their cattle or their sheep or whatever their livestock. The watering hole was a Rishus HaYachid. The watering hole was Rishus HaYachid. It was 10 tefachim deep and 4 tefachim wide. Outside the watering hole is Rishus HaRabim. How do you go ahead and take from the watering hole out to there? So they came up to Chacham with a tremendous set called Pasei Birois. Pasei meaning the boards, Birois of the be'er, of the wells. Good? So what was the Chiddush of Pasei Birois, fellas? That even though there was much more pirates than the Oimed, there's very little thin boards on the side, right? Now this picture is according to Rabbi Yehuda, that you have 8 cattle, 8 times 1 2/3. Each cattle is 1 2/3. It's 13 1/3. The Rav Meir is of the opinion it's only 6 cattle. 6 times 1 2/3 is 10. 6 times 1 2/3 is 10, right? So therefore, according to him, it's 10. According to him, it's 10. Good. So very good. Now we're gonna have a kasha. You're telling me. What are you telling me? You're telling me that the problem we have a problem by Chotzer, more oimem rubal parts. You have a problem by Mavoi 10, right? Mavoi 10. So therefore, it's just like the problem of Mavoi is not corrected with a Tzuras Pesach. So too, the problem by Chotzer is not corrected by Tzuras Pesach. Says the Gemara, I could tell you, but there's a heta. What's the heta? You see that according to the Meir, it's not more than 10. We don't let it go more than 10. Yet we have Oimim Murula Paritz. So we see Oimim Murula Paritz is not Muhammad and 10. And therefore, maybe even by Oimim Murula Paritz, the Tzuras Pesach should help. You're two shelling guys. You're two shelling the problem of Mavoi, saying that's a problem, and Chutz is a problem. But the problem by Chutzer is not as severe. How do you see the problem by Chutzer is not as severe? We permitted by Pasi Berois having more open area than closed area. So therefore, the problem can be corrected, but it's Tzuras Pesach. So you don't have a good limud. Did you get that? I thought I explained it well. I'll do it one more time. Guys, look at me. Everyone look at me. Okay. We're trying to figure out the following. Tzuras Pesach, according to Rav, does not help by Mavli, correct? If it's more than 10, it doesn't help. given. Therefore, if there's a problem by Chatzar, it also shouldn't help. What's the problem by Mavoi? More than 10. What's the problem by Chatzar? More parrots than Oimid. Says the Gemara, 1 second. I'll tell you that this problem is not as severe as this problem. How do you know this problem is not as severe? Because by Pasi Berois, you have more, and yet it's okay. So maybe when this is the problem by Chatzar, having more area, maybe it could help. So your limit from Mavi is not a good limit. There you go. Wonderful. Okay, let's do inside. I'll question the following. You can't go more than 10. What are you going to say by having more open area than closed area? Everyone says it's more open area. You have no limit. So we drop it, guys. We drop it. You have no raya. Let's bring a raya to Rav Yosef and Rav that Rav does not permit a tzuras Pesach when there is more open area than closed area. Again, in Gemara, you always have to know where you're going. Again, we're trying to substantiate Rav Shita that where there's more open area than closed area, that the tzuras Pesach doesn't help. Let's bring a raya to that. Let me misile. The funnest halolu sherubam psachim v'chaloinos. That's picture 139 that we were looking at. Mutta, where you have more openings and clothing, it's mutta ubulvad, provided that sheya oimed rubal aparetz. Guys, what we just said makes no sense. You just said an area that has more openings and windows, provided that there's more solids than. You just told me Neubei says to itself. Says the Gemara. Guys, listen again. The fun is halalu sherubam psachim v'chaloinos. The majority of what our open area is mutter. It's mutter to go ahead and carry there. Ubavache yoimed merubal aparts, provided there's more yoimed merubal aparts. What do you mean? Sherubam salkataytach. If it's arrive, then you have more parrots than yoimed. You have more open area. It makes no sense. It says when ella ema sheriba behem psachim v'chaloinos. Meaning you have a lot, but it's not roiv. Picture 139, guys. You have a lot, but it's not a roiv, right? Yeah, have a lot. Let's see his picture over here. Has a good picture. We have to just jump ahead quickly. Let's see, hockey. I don't know where I am. Huh?
Page 23.
I'm going too far. This goes too fast. Okay. Anyway, picture 139. We should be here. We are, guys. This picture clearly. Look, you have a lot of open spaces, but if you had to add up all the closed spaces, there are more closed spaces. So in this case, the tzuras HaPesach will help. When you take a look on picture 139, you have the tzuras HaPesach. There it is. Good. You have the tzuras HaPesach. So now,
question: the wide open, clearly look like doors, but what about those window type openings? How do you count that out?
That's as a tzuras HaPesach. It has a top and a bottom. It has a top and two sides. So having a bottom is not a chesaron, Dr. Ben. Having a bottom is not a chesaron. Says the Gemara Vaita. Parts. Rav Kahana. Now, so l'chayra, you have a raya, right, guys? You have a raya to Rav. Guys, what are we doing? Rav says if there's more open area than closed area, it doesn't help. Here, clearly, it seems to say. What does it seem to be saying, guys? What does it seem to be saying? When you have more closed area, then it helps. We have more open area than that. Comes Rav Kahana to say it's not true. Ki tanya hi. What the Brisa we just mentioned is speaking the Pischoi Shemoi. It's speaking about Pischoi Shemoi. What are Pischoi Shemoi? My Pischoi Shemoi Pligi Barav Rechumi by Yosef. Chad Amad the Leslie Shakfei. It doesn't have side posts. Chad Amad the Leslie Tikre. It doesn't have a roof. Take a look at the board. Picture 140, 141. Picture 140, 141 here speaks. Look at this. Tell them what page. Picture 140. Guys, that doesn't have any side posts, right? You have a top, but it doesn't have any side posts, correct? So that's not a Tzuras HaPesach. 141, it doesn't have a Tzuras HaPesach. So it could be, guys, look at me. If you had a Tzuras HaPesach, it would work even if it's more. If it had a Tzuras HaPesach, it would work even if there's more open space. When it's said over there, you know why you need more closed space than closed space? Because it did not have a Tzuras HaPesach. Because take a look at these pictures. They're not complete. They don't work. And that's the reason. So it says, Rav Kahana, you have no raya. What? So, someone's trying to get in? Yeah, I don't see him. No, I don't see anyone trying to get in. Tell him to try. Oh, I see him now. Okay.
Does it Stern?
Yeah.
Does the Tzuras HaPesach have to be made for that, or this looks like bomb blew open openings?
No, it doesn't have to be made for it. It just has to be naturally. It could be naturally also.
So,
As long as you have, I'm going to say, Aryeh, when they use telephone poles for Tzuras HaPesach, was that made for Tzuras HaPesach?
No, not at all.
Not at all. But
it's there. It's there, so it works.
Yeah, I'm saying. So the same thing, but over here, so it's saying Ken Zayin Rav is not correct. Ken Zayin to make Tzuras HaPesach would help even with more open area. This Bryce that we just quoted, speaking, but it's no Tzuras HaPesach. Guys, so far as everyone, we're on the same page, we're good? Again, this is the sugi of Tzuras HaPesach. This is one of the more important documents in Masechet Eruvin. This is really one of the more important documents because this is, again, this is the meat and potatoes of Eruvin, of how you make an Eruv. It's the Tzuras HaPesach. All of you who had driveways, correct? You had driveways. Why did you put a Tzuras HaPesach on the driveway? Right? Because it was Pesach to the street. It opened to the street. You want to close it down. You want to make an Eruv with your next door neighbor. You go ahead, you see all these houses and flappers, these expensive houses with this nice landscape, with these ugly poles in front, with little, I had a chavrusa who drove up to my house. He saw that. He just said, I hate it. I'm taking it down. He just took it down. He threw it in the back of his Land Rover and took off with it. They never saw it again. He goes, you're not having that. I'm saying, but how does that work? That works. It's a Tzuras HaPesach, right? That. By the way, it's something that you should know. If you have a shared driveway, even if you don't have a shared driveway, if the fellow next door has an easement, you have to make an Erev Chatzeris in order to use your backyard. In other words, even if you go ahead and put it Tzuras HaPesach, it doesn't. That takes care of the problem from the street, guys. It doesn't take care of the problem with the common area of your next door neighbor. So you need get at that box of matzah that is like putrefied, that's been used for the last 100 years. I still have one for my father. Like Howitz Mangretten. They've been out of business for like 30 years. Yeah. Well, they're usually supposed to eat it once a year, but I'm saying that's really what it is. But people mistakenly think you put it Tzuras HaPesach and hunky dory, everything is good. It's not true. Okay, Shmak says the Gemara weiter. Now, we're going to say Rabbi Yosef holds like Rav. Again, what does Rav hold? That if Rav holds, if there's more open area than closed area, Tzuras HaPesach is not going to work. If there's more open area than closed area, Tzuras HaPesach is not going to work. Now, fellas, Rabbi Yochanan is not going to say anything. We're going to infer it from Rabbi Yochanan. He's not going to say it, but we're going to go ahead and infer it from him, okay? So let's see what he says, and let's see the inference. It says, Rav that Tzuras HaPesach will not matter an area that has more open area than closed area. He was in the valley of a place called Beis Charson. He went ahead and he stuck in the ground 4 kondisin, and 4 edges of the field. Umasach zemura aleihem. He went ahead and he spread on top of them a zemura, some type of vine. He spread a vine on top of them. And look at the picture, guys. Look at the screen. 142. Picture 142. He went ahead. He put the 4 poles, and he put on top of the poles. he put a vine, and now we want to know two halachas. What's the din le'inyan Shabbos, and what's the din le'inyan Kalayim? Now, the din le'inyan Kalayim, guys, picture 143. If I have a mechitza between two crops, you can plant one side grapes and the other side alfalfa, whatever you're going to, vegetables, whatever you want to plant, you can plant. Well, there's a wall there. Good. So question, even if the wall's an imaginary wall, can you do it? So they said we have machloikis between Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, what you're allowed to do. Rabbi Lakish says both Le'inyan Kalayim and Shabbos is considered a good wall. Rabbi Yochanan said Le'inyan Kalayim it's a good wall, Le'inyan Shabbos it's not a good wall. Good? So you picture 142, whether it's a good wall or not is a machlokas Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. Fellas, we want to figure out from Rabbi Yochanan, why isn't it good? Why isn't it good? And we'll see in a second. Says the Gemara. And the Maisa came in front. They permitted in Kalayim to be considered two areas that you can plant underneath the canopy of one thing, karim, and outside something else. Just like they permitted with Kalayim, so too they permitted Linyan Shabbos. In other words, that you would be able to carry within that area on Shabbos. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, L'Kalayim etiruloi, Linyan Shabbos le'etiruloi. Linyan Kalayim was considered a wall, Linyan Shabbos it wasn't. Now, guys, why should there be a difference between Kalayim and Shabbos? Is it a wall or not a wall? Is it a Tzuras HaPesach or not a Tzuras HaPesach? So now we're going to go through the different variables. What exactly are we speaking about when we're discussing these condition, these poles with the vines on top? Ilema minatzad. If you're speaking that what? Minatzad, that the vines are on the side. Guys, the Kiyat Tzuras HaPesach, it has to be on top. It cannot be on the side. It has to be on top. It can't be on the side. Any Tzuras HaPesach that works is because it's on top. It can't be on the side. If it's on the side, it's unacceptable. Take a look, guys. Picture 145. The old NFL goalpost. In the days of Marion Motley, Steve Van Buren, and other historical characters. Right? So that picture 145, it's from the side. That's not a good Tzuras HaPesach, guys. That's not a good Tzuras HaPesach. Good? So you want to tell me over here, picture 144, that he did it from the side, and you're going to tell me that's why it's not good? No, can't be. That can't be the reason. There's got to be another reason. Why? Ivan Rav Chisda, says the Gemara, says Rav Chisda, Tzuras HaPesach sheyasa min hatzad, a Tzuras HaPesach that you made from the side, lo yasa v'lo klum, is garnished. It doesn't help. It doesn't count. It's nothing. So therefore, that can't be, because if it was Linyan Kalayim, you won't consider it what? Right? Actually, you out. He's out. Ella al Gabon. It must be on top. It must be on top. Good, guys. So if it's on top, what's the problem? That's what a Tzuras HaPesach is supposed to be, right? What's a Tzuras HaPesach? A pole with a wire. That's it. Where's the wire? It's always on top. It's always on top. Ella al Gabon, ubimai. Ilema be'esa, if the space is esa, b'hal lemer Rabbi Yochanan b'Shabbos loy. Fellas, is there any reason that Rabbi Yochanan would say, if you have a Tzuras HaPesach on a space that's 10 amas wide, that it's no good? You have a kosher Tzuras HaPesach, you have the area of 10, why shouldn't it be good? Should be good. Ella lav, it must be speaking, b'yesa mi esa. It must be more than 10. So that's, and guys, what did Rob say? If it's more than 10, you have to be memayit, you have to diminish it. So let's infer, again, Rabbi Yochanan didn't say anything. We want to infer from a Pesach of Rabbi Yochanan that he must agree with Rav. One more time, guys, outside, one more time. We have this area, the area, this conducive that's covered, right? Said Rabbi Yochanan, climb, it's okay. Shabbos, it's not okay. Why would he be machmir by Shabbos? So there's two possibilities. Either the area is too big, or the Tzuras Pesach is not good. So if the Tzuras Pesach wasn't good, why would it be a problem? Why would it be mutter for Kalayim? If it's not a Tzuras Pesach, it's not Tzuras Pesach. Now, so why by Shabbos? So it must be it's a kosher Tzuras Pesach. So if it's a kosher Tzuras Pesach, then why did he say by Shabbos it's no good? So it must be the area is too big. So he was machim by Shabbos and Mekel by Kalayim. So I've proven he holds like Rav. Says Rav, Tzuras Pesach that is more than 10 doesn't work. You have to be Mamayit. So I've proven Va'af Rabbi Yochanan Sablak Kirav, even though Rabbi Yochanan never verbally stated it, we're inferring it from his psak. Says the Gemara, no, not so fast. La'olam, I'll tell you the following. La'olam be'eser. It's the taka be'eser. And you know what the problem is? And uminat sad. And it's a side post. It's a Tzuras Pesach from the side. Uber the Rav Chisda kamiflagi. And they're arguing in Rav Chisda. And Reish Lakish and Rav Yochanan is arguing in Rav Chisda. Says the bottom Rashi. Reish Lakish leslay Rav Chisda. Reish Lakish does not hold the Rav Chisda. Rav Yochanan islay Rav Chisda. Because Kiyam Rav Chisda l'Shabbos. Avol l'Kalayim afilu min atzad havi Tzuras Pesach the Shabbos chalim b'Kalayim. So Reish Lakish does not hold the Rav Chisda. Pirish. And he holds that min hatzad from the side is a good Tzuras Pesach. So therefore, Shabbos and Kalayim, it works. That's Reish Lakish. I have not on top, I have from the side. Says Reish Lakish, it works both Kalayim and Shabbos. Says Rabbi Yochanan, no, it doesn't work by Shabbos. I'll be Mekel by Kalayim, but by Shabbos I won't be Mekel. But in Achinami, he doesn't hold like Rav. Again, what would me holding like Rav, fellas? That an area of more than 10, you have to diminish. No, the area is 10. The problem here is not the area. The problem is the material of the actual creation of the Tzuras Pesach. But the area, 10, no raya to Rav. So therefore we failed. Again, we said even Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rav. I prefaced this with he never said it. We inferred it from a Pesach. Your inference is not correct. It's not a good inference because he can disagree with Rav and still hold it's not good here, but for a different reason. Not because it's more than 10, because it's not a Tzuras Pesach. Let's ask a stira. One more time. Reish Lakish holds it's a Tzuras Pesach by both. Rav says only by Kalayim, not by Shabbos. Now, what's the Rami? What's the stira? Dam Reish Lakish b'shem Rabbi Yehuda bar Chanina. Okay, Reish Lakish says the name of his Rebbe, Rabbi Yehuda bar Chanina. Peyos muteres le'inyan Kalayim. What's a peyos? It seems to be a braided vine. If you take a look at Rashi, peya is kalia. It's a braid. Hasamura hametucha is braided mikundus lechaveiroi. The dugmasai is peyos nachris, a sheitel, a braided sheitel. So you have a peya that's braided on top of a vine. Pashtus, it's a Tzuras Pesach. Le'inyan Kalayim, it's muteres le'inyan Kalayim. Avaloi l'Shabbos. So Reish Lakish just said, guys, it's not good for it's good for Kalayim but not for Shabbos. Before Reish Lakish said both are good. So it's a kasha Kalayim at the Kalayim. Before he said Kalayim is a good Eruv, it's a kasha Shabbos. Before he said Shabbos is a good Eruv, here he's saying Shabbos is not a good Eruv. Rabbi Yochanan Amar kimechitzas l'Shabbos deloi kach mechitzas l'Kalayim deloi. In both cases, it's not good. Before he said Kalayim is good. So we have a stira. Reish Lakish said before both were good. Over here he says Shabbos is no good. Before Rabbi Yochanan said Kalayim is good, Shabbos no good, and here he says both are no good. How do we answer the stiris? So Bishleim with Reish Lakish, Ad Reish Lakish lekasha hadidei had Rabbi. The previous price, so he said both are good. He was repeating his own shita. However, here he's repeating the shita of Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Chanina. So here he's saying not his own pshat, he's saying his Rebbe's. So before when he said both are good, that's his own. Over here when he said only Kalayim is good and Shabbos not, he's saying the same as Rebbe. So we've answered the stira in Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan is kasha, because over here he said both are no good, and before he said only Shabbos is no good. Before Al Gabon it's speaking where it was good, and the problem was it was more than 10 Hachamin Atzad. You could say there before was Al Gabon, and the reason why it wasn't good was because it's more than 10. And Hach is speaking minat sad. It's not good at all. Shapir. Guys, that would be a way of out. Correct? The first one he holds like Rav. The reason it's no good is not because it's not a good Susa Pesach, it's because the area is too big. And over here, it's no good in both cases because it's not a good Susa Pesach. If they're both speaking from the side, like you wanted to say, but 10, he would agree that my iklamema, how are you going to answer up? How are you going to answer it up? My iklamema. And for the Gemara, they're both speaking minat sad. Hasam be'eser, over there it was minat sad, but it was only high, it was only an area of 10. The area of 10, minat sad is good by kalayim. Hacha be'yosem yesa, here it's more than 10. More than 10, minat sad is not good even kalayim. So these are two ways to answering the stira. Two ways to answering the stira. Okay, let's go one more time. Stira, look at me. Stira, Reish Lakish, both are good. Second one, Shabbos no good. Answer, this is him, this is his Rebbe. We answered him, no problem. Rabbi Yochanan, only one is good. Second one is 0 is good, right? How do you go ahead and do that? Says the Gemara, he disagrees with Rav. It's the following. It's speaking minat sad. In both cases, it's speaking that the Sursa Pesach wasn't a good Sursa Pesach. Over here it was good for Kalayim because the area was less than 10 or 10. Over here, the area was more than 10. Very good. Where do you see the schilik by more than 10, less than 10? Says the Gemara the following. Where do we see a difference? The Shani law bein Esa Liyosa. When do you see make a difference between Eser and Yosem Yesa? Then where do you see that? Damler B'Yachman Reish Lakish. Loi Kach Hoya Hamaisa Shaholach B'Yeshua Eitzel B'Yachman Menuri Lum L'Kaira Afa Pisha Baki B'Hilchas Kalayim. Even though Rabbi Yeshua was a Baki B'Hilchas Kalayim, Umatz, and he found Rabbi Yachman Menuri Sheyoshev and Ilan, he was sitting among the trees. Umatzach Samur Me'il and Ilan, and he was connecting his Samur from tree to tree. Amalei Rabbi, he could find him kan ma'alis roya kan. So Rabbi Yeshua asked him, if we could find him over here, can I plant? Is there a client problem? Or is it through Pesach? Amalei. So he told him, Rabbi Yechon, he told Rabbi Yeshua, Esa Mutta, if it's an area of Esa, it's Mutta, B'Yosem Esa Asa. The Mayaskin, what are we talking about? Ilay Mal Gabon, if he's on top, B'Yosem Esa Asa, more than 10 is Asa, Tanya, Hayusham Kanim Hadukranim, B'Yosem Peya Mamayla, Afilu B'Yosem Esa Mutta, Allah min outside, it wasn't on top, it was on the side. That there's a difference in outside by Esa more than Esa, and we have good teretz. Okay. So far, what do we see this evening? We saw the Shita Tzuras at Pesach. Tzuras at Pesach certainly, according to everybody, can go ahead and be Mamayat 10. According to the Tanakami, even more than 10. Rav says no, 10. Rav learns from the Heichel. Rav's limited to 10. And Rav, we wanted to learn in Divrei Rav that not only can in Mata 10, it also can be Mata what, where you have parts, if it's parts Muruba ala Oimed, it also can't Mata. Again, that was the limud that Rabbi Yosef wanted to learn, and he wasn't necessarily successful because the limud that he brought from Mavoi was not a good limud. It was the difference, the problem of Mavoi and the problem of Chatzar are not the same. And therefore, and we slugged up from Pasi Berois that we saw that Omen Rural parts is not the same Issa as wide as Yosef Yesa. Okay, very good. Some halachas about Tzuras Pesach. Some halachas about Tzuras Pesach. Kufa, we learned previously. Amar of Chista, Tzuras Pesach she'osim in atzad le'osim l'klum. Again, this is the most common thing that everybody knows. When you bang a nail on the board, you bang it on top, right? You don't bang it on the side. Bang it on top, and you twist the wire around the top. The screw is always on the top, and you're twisting it around the top. Tzuras Pesach has to be on top. If you do it from the side, le'osim l'klum. Amar of Chista, second in Tzuras Pesach. It's got to be healthy enough. It's got to be strong enough. It has to be strong enough. In order to go ahead and be maimed delis, to hold up a door. Even the delis is made of what? If it's made of straw, it will be okay. Even if the delis is made of straw, it would be okay. So a delis, but even if it's made of straw, it'd be okay. You need a pivot. You need a pivot as well. You need we don't pass in this way, as we'll see in a second, but
148.
Picture 148. There you go. Picture 148, a little pivot. Right? This little pivot over there. We don't need that pivot.
You don't need a door.
Hmm?
You don't need a door. Cut the pivot.
Yeah, you don't need a door either. Okay. Anyway, so Amar Avya Avkasa. What's a my hakitzir is Avkasa? It's a pivot hole. Ashkechina Ravacha braid Ravavia Talmidei Ravashi. Ravacha, the son of Ravavia, found the Tmina Ravashi. Amalahu Amaman Midi B'Tzuras HaPesach. Did he say anything regarding Allah as Tzuras HaPesach? Amaloi Loi Amaloi Klum. He didn't say anything. Very mud in the Gemara, right? Did he say something? No, he didn't say anything. So the Rishonim, one of the Rishonim learns this is an answer to the question, meaning he didn't say you need a pivot. You needed a heketzir. So it's telling you that Allah is not, the Rif doesn't pass him, you need a heketzir. They pass him this Gemara. Because they asked, did he say anything regarding his heketzir? No, he didn't say anything regarding heketzir. He didn't say anything regarding heketzir. As if you don't need heketzir. Says the Gemara Vaita. Tana, Suras HaPesach She'amru, Konami Kan, the Konami Kan, one a pole here, a pole there, the Kana Agabehem, and a pole on top. Now, question: Srichin Liga ain't Srichin Liga? Does it have to touch it or not? Does it have to touch it or not? I'll give you a very good example. Let's say you would bang in on a two side posts, and then you have like the side post, and above it you have like a little ceiling. So it's not reaching the ceiling, but the ceiling is overhanging the side post. Would that be a Tzuras HaPesach or no? You need a Kana on top that reaches. You would need a Kana on top that reaches or not. So if Nachman Oma ain't Srichem Liga, it doesn't have to touch. If Sheshes Oma, if Sheshes says no, Srichem Liga, it has to touch. And we're going to prove that Allah is like Rav Nachman. Also Rav Nachman, we over the Reish Galusa. Rav Nachman went and he made in the Reish Galusa's house, he went ahead and he put up a Tzuras HaPesach without it touching. So Kishmaitza, according to his psak. Omer Rav Sheshes the Shami Rav Gada. Rav Sheshes said to Shamis, the famous Rav Gada, Zil Sholef Shadinu, go take it and throw it down. This loyal Gabbai went ahead. Zil Sholef, he threw it down in Shadina. However, the house of Reish Galusa, not a good idea. The Reish Galusa, for some reason, that wasn't a place to start over. There was always stuff happening there in the Reish Galusa's house. They said that to be involved with the Reish Galusa was not such a popular thing. So they heard this. I guess it's like someone smearing a Black Lives Matter mural, right? Something. Don't do that in the city of New York with the Honorable Mayor Bill de Blasio as the mayor. Don't want to fool around with Mayor Bill. Anyway, Ashkina Reish Galusa Chavshua, they threw in prison. They threw God in prison. So Azar of Sheikhs come above her. He knocked on the door. I'm like, God, he told God to come and go. In other words, when they found out Rav Sheshes told him to do it, they were okay with it. Nafik v'yas, and he came. Ashker Rav Sheshes the Rabbi Shmuel, he found Rabbi Shmuel, Amalei, Tani Ma'amidi b'Tzuras HaPesach, Amalei in. Now, he asked him, why did you learn Tzuras HaPesach? Guys, and when he told them that he learned Tzuras HaPesach, it's going to be that even if the top doesn't touch, it's good. Even if the top doesn't touch, it's good. Okay, for this we're going to need the following. Here we have, take a look. What we have over here. We have a shar that is made like kippah, right? It's made like a yarmulke. See it? It's a curve, right? It doesn't need a mezuzah or not. Now the halacha of mezuzah is if the area is anything 10 by 4 tefachim high, 10 tefachim high needs a mezuzah. So we're going to ascertain why does it need a mezuzah, because it's considered a pesach. So we're going to learn the halachas of Tzuras HaPesach from mezuzah. You with me? You got to look at this picture. So now, if it's picture 151, back the hill, go take a look. Oh yeah. Picture 151. You have it? Okay, picture 151. Everyone would hold that's good. Why? Because you'll see you hit 10 tefachim by 4 before it starts to curve. Guys, you see? If you tell me 1 second, in my house, you walk up, there's an arch and people put a mezuzah there because you hit 10 by 4 before you hit the mezuzah. The Arch of Greenwald, right? The famous Arch of Greenwald. Anyway, everyone's maida in 152 that it's no good, right? Why? The feet, they don't have 3. Whatever's within 3 is going to be considered hitting the ground already. So before you get to 4, you never get to 4 because you consider that lovud, it's going to hit the ground. Okay, where is the machlokes? Is picture 153. Now, picture 153 is you have 3 before lovud, it hits 4, and then if you would hollow it out, you'd get to 10. Do you say that or not? Now, the bottom line is, guys, from picture 151 and 153, what do you see? that the top beam does not have to touch the side beams, correct? So from this, we can be paishit to shaila. What? You see, the top is never touching the side. So Memela, using this, then by mezuzah, we can be paishit to shaila, that he was asked. Rav Sheshus, who passing differently, is going to say, don't be mefarsin in this. I don't need the embarrassment. Says the Gemara Vaita. So he went ahead and he found, Rav Sheshus found a Rabbi Shmuel, and Amalei told him, Tani ma midi b'tzuras HaPesach, teach me something regarding tzuras HaPesach. Amalei in, Tanina, kipa, a arch, Reb Meir, Mechayim, Mezuzah, Chom, Paitrim. Geshavim, they both equal. Shem yesh bragleha asara shi chayeves. If it hits 10 before it begins to curve, then everyone says yechayev. Amar Abaya hakol moedim im gevoya asara ve'im bragleha shleisha. If it's high 10, but in the regel you don't have 3 tvachim before 4, so we'll say lavud. Inam yesh bragleha shleisha ve'im gevoya asara. You don't have 10. V'lei klum ki pligi. When's the machlokes? V'sheyesh bragleha gimel u'gevoya asara ve'im rechava arba, unless you hollow it out. However, v'yesh balachuk. You have enough stone there to hollow out. We'll view it as engraved, and therefore you'll be chayv mezuzah. The bottom line is, you see that the top lintel does not have to touch the sides, like Rav Nachman. So Amalei, so said Rav Sheshus to Rav Bar Shmuel, if you find Rav Nachman don't say anything, the Beirish Galusa, why? To keep it. Don't say anything about this. I guess he's a little embarrassed, especially if you're not done everything down. Okay, thank everyone for listening. Bez Hashem tomorrow 4:30. Bez Hashem tomorrow 4:30 on Zoom only. Okay, thank you very much.
Rabbi.
Good night, Rabbi. Thank you.
Good night. Joel, great to hear you, Joel. How are you doing?
Baruch Hashem. Hopefully, I'll get the camera fixed by tomorrow.
I would love to see you.
Likewise, Rabbi. I've been on, Rabbi, the last couple of days, but from my other